It's 10 o'clock, I'm Matt Barbett, and this is Sky News at 10. Our top story. More protests at Asylum hotels as the Archbishop of York tells Nigel Farage his knee-jerk deportation plan won't solve the problem.
Mr Farage is saying the things he's saying, but he is not offering any long-term solution.
Israel's accused of targeting a residential building in Gaza as the Red Cross warns the safe evacuation of Gaza City is impossible. Greta Thunberg rejects accusations of anti-Semitism. She speaks to Sky News about why she's joining another flotilla carrying aid for Gaza.
This is a mission where we are sending hope and solidarity to the people of Gaza and showing a clear signal that the world has not forgotten about you.
The parents of a teenage girl who died in a failing mental health unit tells Sky News there's been no justice over her death. 3 Scottish brothers battle extreme weather, injuries and a lack of food to break the record for rowing across the Pacific. Plus in sport, late drama but penalty joy at last for Manchester United. And we'll take a first look at tomorrow's front pages and our press preview from 10:30 right through until midnight. Good evening. The Archbishop of York has told Sky News that the UK should resist what he called reform's knee-jerk plan for the mass deportation of migrants, criticising Nigel Farage for not offering any long-term solution. Stephen Cottrell is the acting head of the Church of England, while a new Archbishop of Canterbury is chosen. He was speaking after the Court of Appeal ruled that asylum seekers should be allowed to remain at the Bell Hotel in Epping. That ruling has prompted fresh protests across the country this weekend, including in Uxbridge in West London, where a group of masked men were among those who attempted to enter a hotel housing asylum seekers. We'll be live in Uxbridge shortly and get the latest political reaction from Westminster. But first, this report from our correspondent, Paul Kelso.
This small hotel is at the centre of a national debate about migration. A day after the appeal court ruled that the all-male migrants housed here can remain, the argument continues, with England's most senior-serving cleric telling Sky News Reform leader Nigel Farage is offering simplistic solutions.
What's your response to those people who are saying policy should be you land here unlawfully, you get locked up, and you get deported straight away, no ifs, no buts?
Well, I'd say to them, you haven't solved a problem. You've put it somewhere else, and you've done nothing to address the issue of what brings people to this country. We should actively resist the kind of isolationist, short-term, knee-jerk, send them, in this case, send them home.
Let's put a name on it. Is that your message to Mr Farage?
Well, it is. I mean, Mr Farage is saying the things he's saying, but he is not offering any long-term solution to the big issues which are convulsing our world, which lead to this.
His comments are unlikely to endear him to the politician who has pushed the issue to the fore this summer. Speaking earlier this week, Nigel Farage was clear he thinks he's more in tune with public opinion than the clergy.
Whoever the Christian leaders are at any given point in time, I think over the last decades, quite a few of them have been rather out of touch, perhaps with their own flock.
Migrant rights are human rights!
In Long Eaton in Nottinghamshire, protesters from both sides of the divide gathered at a migrant hotel some would like closed.
They're really close to tipping point, this country. So many of us are struggling to pay for everything and working so they can lounge about in hotels.
Honestly, get them gone. It's not safe when they're here.
It's just unfair the way that these people are being scapegoated. I understand the unrest and there is a conversation to be had about how these are getting here, but it's not their fault.
The appeal court ruling has left everyone in limbo. The council here in Epping and residents who want this hotel closed. The government, whose entire migrant hotel policy may hinge on the outcome of a full hearing in October. And of course, those inside free to stay for now while their own personal claims creep through an immigration system that appears overwhelmed. The end of this chapter in one of the defining issues of the day. will not toll for some time. Paul Kelso, Sky News in Epping.
In a moment, we'll get the latest political reaction with John Craig in Westminster. First, let's go to Uxbridge. Our correspondent Emma Birchley is there. Emma, what's been happening this evening?
Well, if you want to get an indication of the strength of feeling about this issue, then you just need to look at the numbers who turned up here. 500, it's estimated by police. Now, at around midday, 2 anti-asylum groups, according to police, headed here to the Crown Plaza. Now, while the vast majority of people may have been protesting peacefully with their flags, a group of masked men tried to enter the Crown Plaza Hotel. This is a really big hotel that would have been the kind of place passengers heading to Heathrow for a flight would have stayed. Now housing asylum seekers surrounded by 8-foot-high hoarding all the way around. And these masked men tried to get in round the back. They damaged some of the hoarding in the process. The police had a plan in place. They bolstered their numbers, but then a breakaway group headed from here across the road to 2 other hotels, the Novotel and beyond it, the Holiday Inn. Now, the police were prepared there too, but they created a cordon to try and calm things down. But 3 people were arrested, 2 police officers received minor injuries, and then a Section 35 dispersal order, as it's called, was put in place. And as people were leaving here and being made to head off, another 2 arrests were made. Now, this is what Commander Adam Slenecki, who's been in charge of policing in the capital this weekend, had to say. We understand strength of feeling on these issues, but where peaceful protest crosses the line into criminality, including injuries to our officers, we will take immediate action. We deployed additional officers to the area and 5 arrests have been made for offences including assault on a police officer, affray and violent disorder. Now, I have to say, for many hours now, it's been absolutely silent here. Everyone headed off. There was a police car parked up. That too has gone now. And it's also important to note that for the vast majority of people, this was a peaceful protest. However, 5 people have been arrested.
Emma, thanks very much indeed. Let's go to Westminster now. Our chief political correspondent, John Craig, is at the Home Office. John, look, strong feeling there, as Emma described. We are hearing strong feelings from a different perspective, from the most senior person in the Church of England, no less. Any reaction to what Stephen Cotterill has been saying from Reform UK?
The Archbishop of York, Stephen Cotterill, has served notice that senior members of the Church of England, senior bishops, are prepared to launch a fight against moves by any political party to crack down in what they believe is an unfair and harsh way against asylum seekers. His interview with Sky News follows one in the Daily Mirror this week earlier, that when he said that the Reform UK's proposals for mass deportations were, as he put it, beneath us as a nation and un-Christian. Now, it always used to be said that the Church of England is the Conservative Party at prayer. But we've seen in recent years the leading bishops, led by Justin Welby, the former Archbishop of Canterbury, in the House of Lords, fighting against Tory legislation, the illegal migration bill, the Rwanda policy of Rishi Sunak. Now, we heard in Paul's report that Nigel Farage believes that bishops like Stephen Cotterill are out of touch, even with their own flock. What would Stephen Cotterill make of a tweet by Keir Starmer earlier, in which he said, "I'm clear we will not reward illegal entry. If you cross the channel unlawfully, you will be detained and sent back." That is more or less what Nigel Farage was saying earlier in the week when he launched his deportation policy. So there's a battle looming again between church leaders and the state and politicians who want to crack down hard. The bishops are prepared to speak up for asylum seekers. Now, the other battle being fought is likely to be in the courts again, because in another interview on Sky News, Paul Mason, a leading councillor at Broxbourne in Hertfordshire, has signalled that his council is ready to lead the Tory fight, Tory town halls, following Epping's example. The numbers could reach 20, it seems now, more than previously thought. Previously thought it was about a dozen or so. Could be as many as 20 now. As well as Broxbourne, we've got Tory councils, Hillingdon, Spelthorne, and plenty of others who are following Kemi Badenoch's call to take action. But it is not just Tory councils prepared to go to court, because we've got West Northants, a reform council, and Staffordshire, another reform council, and possibly more reform UK councils. And then there are 4 Labour councils, Wirral, Stevenage, Tamworth and Rushmore, who are prepared to go to court. So the government is facing opposition on 2 fronts, from leading church figures like the Archbishop of York, and also from local governments, not just Tories, but town halls of all colours. The main problem, of course, is stopping the boats. All the various measures that the government's announced in recent weeks have not addressed the problem of the boats crossing the channel. We've seen action, for example, on speeding up asylum process and so on. But the problem is stopping the boats in the channel. Now, the government will claim that when the figures for August come at the end of the month, they're down on previous years. But the fact is that they're still very high this August, some days over 600, around about 650. And so that's where the problem lies. The government says if we can stop the boats, we won't need people in hotels. But so far, there's no sign that the government is achieving its main objective, stopping the boats.
Thank you, John. And you can see the full interview with the Archbishop of York, Stephen Cottrell, tomorrow morning when Sunday Morning with Trevor Phillips comes back onto the screens. Trevor's other guests include the Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson, and Reform UK's Deputy Leader, Richard Tice. Join Trevor 8:30 tomorrow morning here on Sky News. And no doubt, Asylum hotels will feature in tomorrow's papers. I'll be taking a first look at the front pages in our press preview in a few moments with the journalist Benjamin Butterworth and former Conservative Special Advisor Anita Boateng. To Gaza now, and the Red Cross is saying it will be impossible to keep civilians safe during a massive evacuation of Gaza City. Israel's military says it will continue to support humanitarian efforts in the city, but 8 groups are arguing that an evacuation would provoke a huge displacement of people with nowhere else to go. A warning: this report from our Middle East correspondent Adam Parsons contains images that we've blurred of dead children.
Israel insists it has not yet started its main offensive to take Gaza City. But for many, this looks and feels like an onslaught. The Gaza Health Ministry says that more than 60 people have been killed in the past day. Among them, these children. We're told they were playing near a roundabout when it was attacked. Their families utterly broken by shock and grief.
I lost my daughter. They took her from us. She was the most precious thing in our lives, and now she's gone. God help us.
Here's a snapshot of what life is like in Gaza City. This camera filmed one street for one day. A cacophony of explosions, echoing hour after hour. All this in a city where famine has been declared. On the outskirts, beyond sight, Israel is massing military hardware and soldiers. There are more than 1 million people here in Gaza City. Israel has told them to leave and to head south for their own safety. But the Red Cross says it's simply not possible for them to all get out. Only a fraction have so far followed the order, but some have. Adam has packed his family and their possessions into a single overloaded car. He says they had no choice but to flee.
The Israelis threatened our area, so we had to leave. We're from Shujaya. We first went south, then came back after the ceasefire. There's no safe space. All we're doing is trying to move further away from the constant fire, but there's no safe place in Gaza.
A ceasefire proposal sits unanswered in Jerusalem. The government says it won't compromise. Well, I've just had a message through from a man who lives right in the heart of Gaza City with his family. And he says, our choice now is to remain in the city and face certain death, or to leave and end up on the streets without shelter or compassion. We live in a state of constant tension and fear. Many people here prefer death over displacement because of the unbearable suffering that comes with it. The truth is, the battle is starting while life goes on. 7 Israeli soldiers were injured after a bomb exploded beneath their vehicle. Hamas is warning the remaining hostages will be placed in harm's way if Gaza City is attacked. And if there is no ceasefire soon, then Gaza City will be plunged into terrible violence yet again. Adam Parsons, Sky News, Jerusalem.
The well-known campaigner Greta Thunberg has rejected accusations of anti-Semitism as she embarks on her second flotilla to Gaza. The 22-year-old, along with other activists, is due to set sail tomorrow, despite having been detained by Israeli forces and deported in June. Israel later accused the group of being anti-Semitic, an accusation that Greta Thunberg told our Europe correspondent Siobhan Robbins that she rejects.
There's a drone right above us.
This is how the last flotilla of aid to Gaza ended.
Right now they're jamming our call.
Israeli special forces boarding the Madeleine as it approached the coast.
Just to jam our communication.
Ditch the phone! Ditch the phone!
Greta Thunberg and fellow campaigners detained and deported. But undeterred, she's preparing to take part in a new, bigger aid flotilla leaving on Sunday.
So the goal with this mission is both the symbolic aid that we are bringing, that we are in contact with groups inside of Gaza, how to deal with that, but also to open up a humanitarian corridor to, as soon as that has been open, to deliver more aid. But most importantly, this is a mission where we are sending hope and solidarity to the people of Gaza and showing a clear signal that the world has not forgotten about you. And our governments that are complicit in genocide, they do not represent us.
Israel denies genocide and described the last boat as the selfie yacht, a publicity stunt.
The IDF has said to us that it's demonstrated its commitment to getting humanitarian aid into the people of Gaza, and it says that in response to your flotilla that it will continue to enforce the naval blockade. So I guess some people would say, what's the point? You're going to get probably deported again. Is this more about PR than actually progress?
Israel is violating international law, which is very important. And what we are trying to do is to use our rights to sail on international waters and to deliver humanitarian aid, which Israel are not allowed to block from coming in. I do not understand the argument that this mission is pointless at all. As I said, this is also a message of hope and solidarity. And if there's anything I can do, if there's anything we can do here as individuals to send a message to Palestinians that people are watching you, we are doing everything we can. We are continuing to fulfill our promise to do everything we can, continuously trying to break the siege.
Can I just ask you your thoughts on Hamas? They're still holding hostages. What would your message to Hamas be?
I do not stand behind killing civilians. But if we translate that into the reality in which we are seeing how many hundreds of thousands of people who are dying in Gaza, how many hundreds of thousands of people who have been deprived their complete dignity and sense of justice and freedom by Israel.
Famine has been declared in Gaza, but in a statement, the IDF denied blocking aid, saying since the beginning of the war, over 2 million tons have been delivered, with 9,000 aid trucks going in the last few months. Israel's also previously been deeply critical of the activists.
Israel, when they deported your group last time, they accused you of being anti-Semitic. Do you have a response to those claims?
It is not anti-Semitic to say that we should not be bombing people, that people should not be living in occupation, that everyone should have the right to live in freedom and dignity.
Free, free Palestine!
Dozens of boats carrying hundreds of people from around the world will join Greta on this new mission. The chance of getting to Gaza is slim, and the criticism can be fierce. But they're determined to try. Siobhan Robbins, Sky News, Barcelona.
The Prime Minister of the rebel-controlled government in Yemen has been killed in an Israeli airstrike, according to the Houthis. Ahmed al-Rahawi was killed on Thursday, along with a number of other ministers in Yemen's capital, Sana'a. The Israeli military says it had precisely struck a Houthi terrorist regime military target. The IDF also says it's recovered the body of 28-year-old Idan Shtivi, who was abducted by Hamas during the October the 7th Nova Music Festival attack. Shtivi was hailed for his efforts to rescue others before being taken hostage. Israel says it remains committed to bringing all the hostages home. The former Ukrainian parliamentary speaker, Andrei Parubi, has been shot dead in the country's western city of Lviv. Parubi was secretary of Ukraine's National Security and Defence Council when Russia annexed the Crimea Peninsula. President Zelensky has called it a horrific murder. The parents of a 14-year-old who died in a failing mental health unit have told Sky News there's been no accountability or justice for their daughter's death. Ruth Shermankiewicz was supposed to be under constant observation at Taplow Manor Hospital in Berkshire, but died 2 days after she was left alone to self-harm. Ruth's parents believe that she'd still be alive now if concerns about the unit had been taken seriously. A warning, this report from Laura Bundock contains details of self-harm.
In the hospital where she was meant to be looked after, these are the last moments on camera of Ruth Shermankiewicz. Ruth needed constant supervision, but she was left alone for 15 minutes and fatally self-harmed.
Ruth was a one-off, unique, wonderful girl.
Very adventurous, would always throw her hand in at anything.
An inquest concluded Ruth was unlawfully killed. She was a patient at the Huntercombe Hospital in Berkshire, a specialist children's psychiatric unit. Catastrophic failings here led to her death. But these were failings which had been known about for years.
This hospital was closed in 2023 after Sky News uncovered disturbing evidence about the treatment of young people here. These are the numerous critical reports which were published, including 3 in the year leading up to Ruth's death from the care regulator, the CQC, highlighting significant and repeated failings.
CQC inspectors visited the hospital days before Ruth's death. Observation policy was a significant issue. This CCTV shows Ruth with her support worker. It was his first ever shift, and we now know he'd faked his ID. Ruth should be on one-to-one observation, but she's unwatched. One former employee told me this wasn't unusual.
There was a huge culture of covering things up, and so there were lots of reports and investigations that used to say observations weren't done. And so instead of the observations actually taking place, what would happen is people would just at the end of the shift sign on the clipboard to say that they had been done, knowing full well they hadn't.
The CQC was so concerned about the hospital's observation policies, it issued a warning notice. But Ruth's parents say a legal loophole meant that warning prevented the regulator from prosecuting. The CQC says it carried out a full criminal investigation into Ruth's death, but the evidence did not meet the threshold. The regulator said they've met with Ruth's family to explain the decision and added there's no suggestion the outcome would have been different if there'd been no warning notice. Ruth's death raises many difficult questions about the oversight, the monitoring and the inspection of privately run, publicly funded mental health units.
Why did our daughter have to die before anyone actually paid any attention to make some changes? They knew all this before she died.
Active Care Group acquired the Huntercombe Group, who ran Taplow Manor, in December 2021. It told Sky News, "We deeply regret the tragic event that occurred, and we're truly sorry for the distress this has caused. We directed significant investment in staff training, recruitment and the hospital estate over an 18-month period. By early 2023, it became clear that achieving the high standards of care would not be possible within an acceptable timescale. We're dedicated to learning any further lessons." Ruth's parents are both doctors working in the NHS. They say there's been no accountability for her death, and a warning the government must do more to protect the most vulnerable young people. Laura Bundock, Sky News.
In response to Laura's report there, the Department of Health and Social Care has said our deepest sympathies are with Ruth's family and friends. This is a shocking case, and it's clear that care at Huntercombe Hospital, which is also known as Taplow Manor, fell far below the standards we expect. Where appropriate, the CQC can bring prosecutions where a provider has failed to comply with a warning notice. And we are clear that those that harm patients through negligence or mismanagement should face the consequences. If you're affected by that story or any others, you can contact the Samaritans at any time on 116 123, where you can speak to someone, or email joe@samaritans.org in the UK. Now, let's get the latest Sky Sports news from Gavin.
Staying connected is vital for business. Sky Business sponsors this report.
Sky Mobile sponsors the transfer window on Sky Sports News.
Right.
Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank was all smiles with his teammates today, but his future still seems somewhat uncertain.
Honest, I'm just sick and tired of this.
The number that was put before me was 50% more than our highest paid player at the time.
Jimmy had the feeling, do they really want me here?
My determination was not to sell Jimmy to that particular club.
It made me look bad in front of the fans. It was not necessary.
The biggest single challenge is how we managed his exit publicly, which probably Jimmy didn't like very much.
He's settling into his new surrounds. The player renamed Judas Floyd Money in the Bank when he was drummed out of Ellen Road.
Don't believe the figures at all. Don't believe the figures at all.
Reading the text last night, that was nothing about money from his agent. Well, Jesus, lads, honestly.
I just think he's greedy.
The perception that people have of me, the difficult person, blah, 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 never there. Sometimes things happen for a reason.
Another day, another summer signing. The delightfully named Gerald Floyd Hasselbank from Boa Vista. Jimmy to his pals.
Have you heard about people like Billy Bremner and Norman Hunter and things like that?
No.
You never heard of them?
No.
You'll find out about them.
Yeah, I will find out, but I never heard of them, no.
They tell me you put Jimmy. They call you Jimmy and that's it, is that right?
Yes, they call me Jimmy in Portugal and that's it. I think in the beginning of the season I'm gonna learn about the English football. But I want to make the best of it and score so much goals as possible.
Well, he finished second top goal scorer in Portugal, so he looks as if he's a finisher, which we were lacking goals last season. We'd been out to look at Bruno Ribeiro. We signed Bruno Ribeiro and Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. It was £2 million and he was an unknown. And you think to yourself, is that money well spent? Nobody had heard of him.
George Graham said to me, we've got to go down to Lisbon on the Sunday because we were going to watch this player. The player was Jimmy Hasselbank. I remember seeing him in a very run-down, low-key stadium. You knew straight away, there's something there.
And I remember looking at the back of a bus. I was looking and going, who are them two? Because it said the new tagline for, as I said, the men in white. And they said, who are they? And I remember looking, and it was a picture of me and Jimmy. On the thing, I was like, oh my God. It took a while to adjust, but everyone saw he had one thing on his mind, and that was to score goals.
Hasselbank, who loves to hit them when he gets the chance.
And he's steered it into the net for the equaliser.
Hasselbank, who has a crack and scores!
Good effort! It's gone in! Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank has scored!
Oh, Hasselbank might get here before Schmeichel. Goal from Leeds United! Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank.
He had a natural ability to hit a ball very hard, and he had so much power. And when he controlled that power, he was like quite unstoppable.
We just realised we'd stumbled on a talent.
He's got that confidence about himself to be able to put himself out there. He wasn't shy from the get-go. We kind of...
Sky Business sponsors this report.
Gavin, thank you so much. Now, 3 brothers from Edinburgh have smashed the record for rowing across the Pacific Ocean. Ewan, Jamie and Lachlan McLean battled violent storms in their 140-day trek from Peru to Australia, beating the previous record by a whole 20 days. And Birchley has more.
The final approach. Then, just like that, the 3 brothers from Edinburgh were back on dry land after 139 days at sea, to the sound of the bagpipes. And straight into the arms of their loved ones, before a group hug for Mum, swamping her in their exhausted arms. The McLean brothers set off from Peru on April the 12th, 9,000 miles ahead of them, on a non-stop unsupported crossing of the Pacific. And hardly surprising, it came with its fair share of peril, with powerful storms and enormous waves. And the terrifying moment Lachlan was swept overboard.
Feeling pretty shaken. It was like 10 minutes ago, so massive rogue wave came in off the stern of the boat and yeah, just watched me off my feet.
Thankfully, Ewan was able to haul him back on board. But for all the lows, there were plenty of highs. There were the sunsets and sunrises.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to wake you up.
And even a chat with actor Ewan McGregor, treating the fellow Scot to a bagpipe recital from the deck. But also frustration.
And there's Australia.
Passing so close to land, unable to stop. And when they realised their arrival would be delayed, requiring the writing of a second final log.
I've already concluded made all my poignant closing remarks.
This cabin,
I've just got drivel.
This cabin reeks.
Yeah.
The last 3 days physically have probably been up there with the hardest because we were pushing so hard to get across the East Australian Current. Well, first, through the East Australian Current and then through the Great Barrier Reef, and those two combined, we were just going at a snail's pace, and then to realise, oh, you're not going to make the deadline that you first thought.
And after months of food from packets,
it's a meat chili,
and whatever they could catch, when land finally came into sight,
That is Australia!
there was no doubt what they wanted. But before that, a call with another star who'd been following their progress, this time actor Mark Wahlberg.
Praying for you guys every day, man.
This feat of endurance was about raising money for clean water projects in Madagascar, and they're nearing their target of £1 million. But in the process, they set a new world record for crossing in the fastest time ever, spurred on, no doubt, by dreams of those first hugs. And also that first bite of pizza. Emma Birchley, Sky News.
Well, like it was a Scottish beer as well to celebrate. That was Sky News at 10. Coming up, we'll take a first look at tomorrow's papers in the press preview. Tonight, I'm joined by Benjamin Buttonworth and Anita Boateng. Among the stories, we'll be chatting about this on the front of tomorrow's Mail on Sunday. The headline, Rayner used top wealth protection firm in deal over house. We'll be right back.